Alright, so in this video we're going to take a look at how to simplify a question like this. So I to the power of 57. So how would we go about writing that in its simplest form? So the big idea with complex numbers is that whenever we had the square root of -1, we could translate that into the imaginary number I. And using this, we can also set up that -1, if we square both sides, would result in I squared. So this is a really important concept in complex numbers, and we're going to apply that now here in this problem. So because I know that I squared is equal to -1, I'm going to work to get 57 down to have a 2. Break it down as much as I can into even numbers and break that right down so I get I squared in there somewhere so that I can replace it with -1. So my first trick here is to bring that to an even number plus 1. So I can bring that to I to the power of 56 plus 1. That's still I to the power of 57. I've just written it differently. I could then rewrite that to be I to the power of 56. How I ended up with addition in indices is I would have multiplied, so I to the power of 1. So what I have there is I to the power of 56 times I. Now, I to the power of 56, because that's an even number, I can now break that down into I squared multiplied by 28. So again, I'm just writing 56 in another format, and again, multiply it by I. Using indice rules here, I can break that down to be I squared to the 28 times I, and I know then that I squared is -1, so I'm going to replace that with -1. So I'm going to have -1 to the power of 28 multiplied by I. That will give me -1 to the power of 28. Now, quick trick, if it's even, it works out to be positive. If it's odd, it works out to be negative. So that's even. So I'm going to have 1 multiplied by I, which we know, nice and easy, is I. So there's nothing too complicated about it. You just have to strategize and work your way to getting the I squareds out of it. So go to the even number, break it down into small steps, and get out your I squared. Another style of question like that would be I to the power of -16. And again, this is more indice laws and rules than it is complex numbers. The only part of it that's complex numbers, remember, is that I squared is equal to -1. So as soon as I can get out an I squared, I can replace it with -1. So the first thing I would do here is actually note that I can write that as I to the power of 16 using indice laws again there. So if I have to the power of a minus, I can turn that into the reciprocal. Then what I can say is, well, that's already an even number, so I can actually write that as I squared times 8, like that, I to the power of 2 times 8, and again, using indice laws, break that down into be I squared to the power of 8. And we know, again, that I squared is -1, so I'm going to replace my I squared here with -1. So I'm going to have 1 all over -1 to the power of 8, and remember, if that's a even number, then we can write it as a positive. So it's 1 all over 1, which is 1. Nice and easy. Okay, so just take your time with them. It's more about the indices than it is about the complex numbers, so you'll need to be revising those at the same time that you're practicing these questions.